America owes $39 trillion, and that number climbs by nearly $3 trillion every single year. In May, one man quietly slid into the chair controlling the money printer. His name is Kevin Warsh. On May 22, 2026, he was sworn in, replacing Jerome Powell as chair of the Federal Reserve, the most powerful job in money. And the internet is buzzing with one wild question. Can this brand new Fed chair actually make $39 trillion of national debt simply disappear into thin air? Today we answer that in plain English, no finance degree required, with a few laughs along the way. Stick around, because the real plan is sneakier than just printing cash. First, what even is the national debt? Picture the whole country sharing one giant credit card, and every single year it spends way more than it actually earns. When the government wants a dollar it doesn't have, it borrows one. It sells a little IOU called a treasury bond, a promise to pay you back later with interest. Stack up every unpaid IOU since 1790, and you reach today's grand total, $39.3 trillion, a brand new record set this very June. How big is that really? If you had spent $1 million every single day since the pyramids were built, you still wouldn't have spent even $1 trillion. So who do we actually owe? Roughly 80% is owed to the public, everyday investors, pension funds, and foreign countries all holding our bonds. The other 20% the government basically owes to itself, mostly the Social Security and Medicare trust funds. Yes, it really is as confusing as it sounds. Here's why you should genuinely care. The interest payments alone on this debt now cost more than America's entire military budget, and that bill arrives every single year. That's money not going to roads, schools, or your tax refund, just rent on past spending. So can Kevin Warsh really wave a magic wand and fix it? Now, the uncomfortable truth that nobody puts in a clickbait title: the Federal Reserve does not actually control the national debt. Congress does. They are two completely different jobs. Think of it like a household. Congress is the spender, happily swiping the credit card on whatever it wants. The Fed is just the bank quietly sitting in the background. The Fed's real job is setting interest rates and keeping prices stable. It cannot pass a budget, raise your taxes, or cancel a single dollar of existing debt. So technically, no, Kevin Warsh cannot erase the debt. The end. Video over. Except that is not quite the whole story now, is it? Because while the Fed can't delete the debt outright, it does have 3 sneaky levers that can make it quietly shrink. Let's pull each one and see. Lever number 1, inflate it away. This is the oldest trick in the entire central banking playbook, and honestly, it's the sneakiest one on this whole list. Here's the magic: the debt is a fixed number of dollars, so if you simply make each dollar worth less, the debt shrinks while the number never changes. Say you owe $10 and a pizza also costs $10. Your debt and one whole pizza are worth exactly the same thing right now. Now let prices double. Your debt is still $10, but that only buys half a pizza. You repaid the loan with cheaper money, robbing the lender in slow motion. Economists have a polite name for this: a stealth tax. You never receive a bill, yet your savings quietly lose their buying power a little more every year. Lever number 2 has a scary name: financial repression. But the idea is dead simple. You keep interest rates lower than inflation on purpose for years on end. When your savings account pays 2% but prices climb 5%, your money shrinks. That gap quietly transfers wealth out of your pocket and toward the government. America actually did this after World War II. The debt was even bigger back then, and 20 years of low rates plus growth slowly melted it down to size. The catch? Your savings account becomes the sacrifice. Cash sitting in the bank slowly loses the race against rising prices, so you pay the bill without ever really noticing. Lever number 3 is the famous one: print money. The Federal Reserve can literally create brand new dollars out of nothing and use them to buy the government's bonds. You've heard the meme, money printer go borar. That's literally this. The Fed buys the debt, the government gets cash, and a flood of fresh dollars pours into the economy. It's called monetizing the debt. It works fast, but flood the world with new dollars and you usually summon the one thing everybody secretly fears: more inflation. Notice the pattern yet? Every Fed lever for shrinking the debt has the exact same side effect: inflation. The disappearing act always comes with a bill, just a hidden one. So is there a painless way out? Actually, yes. And it's the one nobody ever puts in a thumbnail. You simply grow the economy faster than the debt grows. Debt only really matters compared to income. If the country earns more each year than it borrows, the debt shrinks into a smaller and smaller slice of the pie. No printing, no stealth tax, just good old growth. The problem? That depends on Congress and the economy, not the Fed chair. Warsh simply can't order the economy to grow. Quick fun detour. Some people online seriously say, just mint a single $1 trillion coin and pay the debt off. And weirdly, it's a real legal loophole people propose. Spoiler, that's the Treasury's job, not the Fed's, and minting magic coins would torch the world's trust in the dollar overnight. Cute meme, genuinely terrible plan. So what does Kevin Warsh actually believe? This part matters because his real track record is the true headline, not some made-up magic wand rumor from the internet. Warsh is famous as an inflation hawk. He spent years loudly warning that printing too much money was dangerous. Put simply, the man genuinely hates the money printer. He's also argued the Fed grew far too big and should shrink its balance sheet, the giant mountain of bonds it bought up over the last decade or so. So here's the irony. The man rumored to erase the debt by printing is actually the one most against printing. The viral story has it completely backwards. His real focus is quieter: get inflation back down, keep the Fed independent from politicians, and stop bailing out every single crisis with a fresh pile of cash. But here's the trap quietly waiting for him with the debt. This enormous, even a tiny interest rate hike makes that yearly interest bill absolutely explode in size. So a hawk who hates printing might still get pressured into keeping rates low anyway, just to keep the debt affordable. The debt itself sets the trap. And that's the real story here. Nobody is erasing $39 trillion, but it can quietly shrink, and the cost of that lands somewhere very specific. On you, on your paycheck, on your savings, and especially on anyone living on a fixed income while watching prices climb faster than their money ever grows. So next time a headline screams the Fed will erase the debt, you'll know the trick. The debt doesn't vanish, it just quietly gets passed down to the savers. The smart move here isn't panic, it's awareness. Once you truly understand inflation, you stop being the person who silently pays for everybody else's disappearing act. Kevin Warsh now has 4 years in that chair. Watch closely what he does with interest rates because that quietly decides who really ends up paying this bill. If this finally made $39 trillion make sense, you know what to do. Subscribe, and next time someone says erase the debt, you'll just smile knowingly.